Hey everybody, welcome back to Scripture Shorts. Today we're going to be reading about what was in some ways a very sad day, but in other ways a very joyous day. And why don't we look at our puzzle? And as you look at the puzzle, I'll ask you, since we're going to be talking about some things that were sad, which tree never laughs? A clue? How about a weeping willow? There we go. Miss Amanda got that one. All right, let's read about Jesus' sentence to death. That's sad, but what's joyous is that he overcomes. Pilate gave orders for Jesus to be beaten with a whip. The soldiers made a crown of thorn branches and put it on Jesus. They put on a purple robe on him, and once again Pilate went out into the crowd. He said, "I will have Jesus brought out to you again. Then you can see for yourselves that I have not found him guilty." Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. "Nail him to a cross! Nail him to a cross!" the crowd cried. Pilate told them, "You take him and nail him to a cross. I don't find him guilty of anything." The crowd replied, "He claimed to be the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, he was terrified. He went back inside and asked Jesus, "Where are you from?" Jesus did not answer. "Why won't you answer my question?" Pilate asked. "Don't you know that I have the power to let you go free or to nail you to the cross?" And Jesus replied, "If God had not given you the power, you couldn't do anything at all to me. But the one who has handed me over to you did something even worse." Pilate wanted to set Jesus free, but the crowd again yelled, "If you set this man free, you are no friend to the emperor. Anyone claims to be a king is an enemy of the emperor. Kill him, kill him." "So you want me to nail your king to a cross?" Pilate asked. The chief priest replied, "The emperor is our king." Then Pilate handed Jesus over to be nailed to a cross. So, if you remember when Jesus came in on Sunday on the triumphal entry, everybody was cheering for him, and on Monday he turned over the temples. Tuesday the chief priest and everybody was all the religious leaders were questioning Jesus. Then that set up this today, what we're going to be talking about, Good Friday. As Jesus was being led away, some soldiers grabbed hold of a man from Cyrene named Simon. He was coming in from the fields, but they put the cross on him and made him carry it behind Jesus. A large crowd was following Jesus, and a lot of women were crying and weeping for him. Jesus turned to the women and said, "Women of Jerusalem, don't cry for me. Cry for yourselves and for your children. Someday people will say, 'Women who have never had children are really fortunate.' At that time, everyone will say to the mountains, 'Fall on us.' They will say to the hills, 'Hide us.' If this can happen when the wood is green, what do you think will happen when it's dry?" Look at this picture. So Jesus is nailed to a cross. Two criminals were led out to be put to death with Jesus. The soldiers came to the place called the Skull, or Golgotha. There they nailed him to a cross, and they also nailed the two criminals to crosses, one on each of Jesus' sides. Jesus said, "Father, forgive these people. They don't know what they're doing." While the crowd stood there watching Jesus, the soldiers gambled for his clothes. The leaders insulted him by saying, "He saved others, now he should save himself." If he really is God's chosen Messiah, the soldiers made fun of Jesus. They said, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." And above him was a sign that was written, "This is the King of the Jews." Look at the shame and the insults that Jesus took for us. It was a very dark day that day, but Jesus overcame. One of the criminals hanging there also insulted Jesus, saying, "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and save us." But the other criminal told the first one, "Don't you fear God? Aren't you getting the same punishment that you deserve as this man? We got what was coming to us, but he didn't do anything wrong." Then he said to Jesus, "Remember me when you come into power." And Jesus replied, "I promise today that you will be with me in paradise." So around noon the sky turned dark and stayed that way until the middle of the afternoon. Jesus knew that he had now finished his work. In order to make the scriptures come true, he said, "I am thirsty." Someone soaked a sponge in a jar of wine and held it to Jesus' mouth on the stem of a hyssop plant. After Jesus tasted, he said, "Everything is done," and he bowed his head and died. Here's our picture here. Jesus didn't take anything to dampen the pain that he endured for you and me. He suffered it all right there on the cross for us. The moment Jesus died, the curtain in the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook and rocks split apart. Graves opened, and many of God's people were raised to life. Then after Jesus had risen to life, they came out of their graves and went into the holy city, where they were seen by many people. The officer and the soldiers guarding Jesus felt the earthquake and saw everything else that happened. They were frightened and said, "This man really was the Son of God." So, just as they would then take a man named Joseph of Arimathea would come and get Jesus' body and take and place him in his tomb. The next day would be both a Sabbath and the Passover, and it was a special day for the Jewish people, and they did not want bodies to stay on the crosses during the day. They asked Pilate to break the men's legs and take their bodies down. The soldiers first broke the legs of the other two men who were nailed there, but when they came to Jesus, they saw that he was already dead, and they did not break his legs, fulfilling Scripture. Then evening, a rich disciple named Joseph, from the town of Arimathea, went and asked for Jesus' body. Pilate gave orders for it to be given to Joseph, and Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean white cloth. Then he put the body in his own tomb that had been cut out in solid rock and had never been used. He rolled a big stone against the entrance in the tomb and went away. All right. So join us tomorrow night to see what happens. Will tell you that the Jewish leaders went to Pilate and had guards placed in front of the tomb so that Jesus' disciples couldn't steal him and claim he had risen. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. Good night, everybody. Love you.